All right, well, hi, I'm Karen. In this video today, I'm going to be finally reviewing these two items right here from Flower Beauty. I purchased this about like maybe 3 to 4 weeks ago, and I've been testing it out ever since. The first time I used it, I wasn't very impressed with using this brush here. This is actually the powder brush from Bhcosmetics. I've used this brush with different liquid foundations, and it's worked very well for those other foundations that I used it with, but for me it did not behave very well with this foundation. I felt like the foundation felt heavier on my skin, and I kind of felt like it left some streaks in it as well. And considering that it's synthetic, it should technically work very well with a liquid foundation, but for this foundation it did not. Then I tested this out with two other application methods. I did a half and half where I used this synthetic brush. It's a dual fiber brush. It kind of has like a hair-like feel to it, along with this other beauty sponge, and this is also from Ecotools as well. And I just did half and half using these both, and I felt like both of these pretty much gave the same results, and I loved the results with these. Probably this sponge just a little bit more than I did the brush, but nonetheless, they both gave a beautiful light feel finish where it looked more like skin. It didn't look heavy on the skin, and I didn't really have to work very hard to like blend it into the skin. So those definitely, if you have a stapling brush that is thick like this one is, or you have any kind of beauty sponge, Flower Beauty even has their own beauty sponge, and actually that sponge actually comes highly recommended by a lot of different beauty gurus, beauty channels, whatever you want to call them, here on YouTube. Final method that I finally tested this out with, that I felt like worked out the best for me, was definitely using my hands. My hands. That gave me the best result possible, and it made sense because after watching all those videos with Drew Barrymore doing, you know, I guess you can say like a try on beauty type, sit down, get ready with me videos with a lot of other beauty YouTubers. I'm not sure if a lot of you saw that, but I was watching it and I thought they were funny and cute. Watching her apply her foundation, she uses her hands, and it makes sense. It just, because your hands, one, they're warm. So whatever the product is you use with your hands is going to automatically like make it go into the place it's supposed to, especially like around the crease, around your nose, around these areas here. It just makes everything go on beautifully. Even from watching Sandra Deluxe, you know, she has been doing that for I don't know how long, however long I've been watching her on YouTube, and her foundation always looked flawless. So just my final take on this is definitely use your hands. Of course, you know, make sure your hands are clean prior to, and make sure you clean your hands after so you don't get it in other, you know, get the foundation in other places. But overall, like, this is the way I applied this foundation today, and I love the way it turned out. Now, part of the thing about this foundation, this is not a matte foundation. This is a luminous makeup nude skin feel foundation. That's what it says on here. It's an all-day broad spectrum SPF 18 sunscreen, and the shade in this one is Sable D1. And the one thing you will notice already with the one that I have, it already broke. The glass already broke, which is actually the first time that's ever actually happened with foundation for me anyway. And it wasn't while I was traveling either. This happened prior to that. So one thing I would definitely say about this foundation, it definitely lives up to what it says it is. It's definitely a luminous foundation. I don't even have highlighter on my skin. This is the foundation glowing. The most I have like right here is the bronzer I was testing out for e.l.f. Yeah, and that's about it. I didn't even set my under eyes or anything. So any glow you see on my skin, it's literally the foundation. The other thing that I love about this foundation as well is the fact that it does not settle in my fine lines like some other foundations. It still does settle in my fine lines, but nothing like Makeup Forever does it. I love the way the Makeup Forever looks on my skin, but it settles here. So I have to take extra measures to make sure, you know, it stays looking nice throughout the day. And it just is what it is. Now, I am an oily skin person, or maybe I should say combination skin, because when it gets to winter, I can get dry. But for the most part, I'm oily. And one of the things I would say with this foundation is it gradually, naturally wears itself out, just like any other foundation does, except it doesn't get mad greasy. But honestly, I think the whole greasy foundation thing really depends on how much foundation, makeup, and layers you put on your skin. Because once upon a time, when I first started my channel, I wore a pretty thick layer of foundation. And I would wear, you know, put on heavy foundation and put on powder on top of that, setting everything, you know, spraying it and drenching it down until, you know, I got it to look nice and natural. But with that, all that being said, about 3 hours into wearing my foundation, man, I would be looking like somebody took some oil and just said, hey, like all over my face. And it wasn't until I started like slowly but surely lessening how much foundation I wore, because I started to really like the way my skin was looking underneath, and just wearing less foundation, I started realizing that the cause of me getting that oily had a whole lot to do how much layer of makeup I was actually wearing over my face. And foundation is something for me to put on so it looks even, I don't look tired, that kind of thing. Point to the story with this is, this looks very skin-like like they claim. It is very beautifully luminous like they claim. And honestly, I feel like oily skin people can, if you're an oily skin person, you can wear any type of foundation you want. I think the main thing is just making sure the moisturizer you're using is oil-free. You're actually moisturizing your skin and not trying to suck it completely dry. And wear less makeup, wear less foundation if you can. Focus on the problem areas and try to wear less makeup in certain other areas if you don't have to, because it will just, you will look better at the end of the day. Just my personal opinion, my personal experience as well. So test it out, try it for yourself. And then the next one is this concealer here. This is a medium deep concealer. And the one thing I do want to say about this concealer is it's a very rich, deep golden color. So they were right when they said medium deep. It is a deep shade, and quite honestly, before I got my tan, I did feel like I was pushing it, trying to even attempt to wear this concealer. I felt like it just looked too golden under my eyes, and usually I like it to be more of like a peachy color to kind of do this color correcting thing and brighten all at the same time. And normally, let me just show you the shade I normally wear under my eye. This one is from Rimmel, and unfortunately Rimmel has discontinued this particular one. And this shade from Rimmel actually has a very nice yellow beigey undertone. So compared to this one, the one on this side, you see how rich that color is. Plus two that I love about it, because I used it as an eyeshadow base, I love the wand. It's a nice flat wand. Let me show you guys that. It's a nice flat wand. It's very, very long. It's easy to like get up in this whole like eye area and just clean it up real quick and really widely spread it on the eye. So I really do like that a whole lot about this concealer, and I love the color. I probably just need to go up one color. I hope they have a color that's like one shade up that might not be too light for me. I think that was my concern. I was concerned the one before this was just like way too light. So I ran with this one instead. But now using it, I do say I prefer this now that I've gotten a tan. And I haven't even really gotten a tan. I was barely out. Now it does claim to also be a light luminous full coverage concealer. I will say it's pretty full comparing it to this other new one from Rimmel. This is their medium dark. And I kind of want to like swatch these so you can see them as well. A very, very thick color, and it does have a smell to it, a fragrance. And then this has definitely more of a reddy undertone, but you can definitely see how golden that is compared to this one. And this is supposed to be the darkest color. This is the full 100. And I don't like, it's not as yellow as the other one here. Yeah, this one is definitely more of like a yellowy, beigey tone. I love this color. I just feel like it's nice and subtle. Look how light that is. That's crazy. But it has a yellow undertone to it. And that's one of my favorite parts about this particular one, which is it's not very easy to find in the drugstore brands. Yeah, but this is definitely thick. This is definitely a thicker pigmented concealer. And it also claims to be creaseless as well. I don't know so much about that. I've been wearing it now for about maybe about like 45 minutes to an hour. And the one thing I will say is initially after I applied it and let it sit, and I did the rest of my makeup and I came back and just, did my little thing under my eye. Now, since then, it's been about like 45 minutes to an hour, and literally it looks good. I just had to blend out the part that was like in the crease, but I have not set this with powder. And this is the first time I have not set this concealer with powder, as before I was using the little e.l.f. under eye one, and it's in rose light tone. And I was using this before to just, lightly just set underneath here and just put blush on, pressed powder, contour, bronzer, whatever. And that was it, running out. But this, yeah, this looks really good, because before I was like, setting it hoping it wouldn't crease. But now I'm like, after doing this, I need to test it out like this more often, because this looks really good. I was not expecting this. I'm not sure how it would look if you put on way more than what I put on in the video. You might have to definitely set it, or especially maybe if you're using mascara because I didn't put any mascara on today. But if you're not using waterproof mascara, I couldn't imagine you doing that. Like, you would most likely have to most likely set it. But overall, I feel like it looks beautiful. it looks natural, and that's my biggest thing. That's my biggest thing that I look for when it comes to foundations in general. It doesn't matter if it's drugstore or not. I personally like a natural looking foundation, and if I can get that, I'm good. And if I can get that with even better ingredients, I'm also good. Noting the fact that this foundation does have SPF in it as well. One of the things I did notice when I was kind of like testing out, just because I bought these at the same time, so I like did half face in this and half face in the Rimmel. The first thing I noticed with this is it did have a gray undertone in comparison with having this on the other side. This didn't, this did. And this one has SPF 20 in it. So that's interesting. This has 18, this has 20, but this gave me more of a gray undertone than I even noticed in this. This just looked warmer to me versus this one. So I would keep that in mind when you're trying it on. If you do notice a gray undertone, you know why, because of the SPF. That's notorious for doing that. But like I said, if you put the right powders over it, it'll look fine. But you may be like me and you may not want to completely put powder on your face. I don't know, it just worked out for me. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I can still slightly see the gray undertone like up in this area. Maybe I should have put on more bronzer up in the forehead area and over here, which I didn't really, and I didn't really set it with any kind of powder. So minus putting on blush and some bronzer there. So, and a little bit there. So if you have that kind of issue with a foundation, you can usually correct it with the setting powder and, you know, the powder that you dust over here. I just didn't bother doing that because I wanted to show what the foundation really looked like and kind of how I've been wearing it as well. Sometimes I'll set it, depends on what's going on, but if I'm not going anywhere major, like, why bother doing all of that activity? But anyway, that's my thoughts for using this. And like I said, the best way I have put this on, the two, if I had a choice, if I didn't want to use my hands for sure, it would be a sponge. So it just blended out nicely. It just looked nicely, because, you know, you're working it into the skin versus just sitting over your skin. I think maybe that was the problem that I had with this. Maybe this was too much like over the skin versus actually being worked into the skin like you would with your hand or with a sponge. So that could be what it is with this foundation. But anyway, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, don't forget to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. And if you've tried any other flower beauty products that you just simply love and you cannot do without, I would love to hear you leave the comment down below as well. Whether it's their lipsticks, their setting powder, which I really heard very good things about. Yeah, definitely leave that down below. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye. All right, so this is my first time wearing this foundation here from Flower Beauty. This is their luminous foundation. I can't remember the name of it. Y'all see in the video. But this is my first time wearing it. I bought it like almost a week ago, and I'm just now testing it out. I bought it along with a concealer as well, and so far it looks pretty good. It was just a little, it's more like my tan color. Like if I got just a little bit deeper, that's the color that I would be. So I did notice that. But if you counteract that with doing concealer and, you know, powder, lighter powder, or powder your complexion, you'll be fine. If you're close to my skin tone. But this is after putting this on at like 2:30 today, and so far, and it's 7:10 now, it's 7:13. It looks pretty good. I mean, it looks luminous. It doesn't look overly oily, and usually like these are the areas where I get like really, it can get out of hand, like very much so out of hand. But it looks good. All right, so it's currently 5 o'clock, and I think I finished sometime around 12-ish. This is what it's looking like. And like I said, it was with 1.5 pumps. So far, my forehead still looks good. I have some oil buildup here, but that's usually normal. Usually it's all of that, but it looks pretty good thus far. The cheeks still look seriously red. It was because of that bronzer that I put on from e.l.f. It was supposed to be a bronzer, but I ended up using it as a blush because it was just way too red, trying to find a purpose for it. And then the smile lines, I haven't touched that at all. So it's probably because I wore a lot less makeup too, but I really like the way it looks. You see what I'm saying? It's like, it's not doing that weird thing. Let's see the eye. How about that? Hope you can see just a little bit, but it's nothing severe. You know, I've never done that with foundation, with concealer. So it still all looks good underneath the eyes. Yeah. So, it's not bad. It's honestly not bad.